Good morning, everyone. And today is our last lesson of summer e-school. So congratulations on making it through this summer school. And this last lesson should be a bit of a refresher. It's going to really build on what we've learned up to this point. In particular, what we're going to do today is in the past couple days, in the past couple three lessons, we've worked on factoring quadratic formulas, right? Taking these trinomials like ax squared plus bx plus c, we broke them into things like x plus y and x plus b, right? We now, if we set that equation, so let's go ahead and assume we are given an equation like ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. What we've done in the past is we've split this into two factors, right? We're saying it's like x plus some number, so we'll say that is e times x plus some number, we'll say that is f. All right. Now, if we set this equal to 0, okay, now we have an equation. And we're able to solve this equation for any possible value of x that will result in an answer of 0. Okay. Now, more often than not, everyone, you are going to get more than one x value that will satisfy this equation. So, for example, here, when we set these factors equal to 0, right, we individually go through each one and say, okay, I'm going to set this one equal to 0 and this one equal to 0. This allows me to then write out two equations that I can factor for 0. So let's say x plus e equals 0 and x plus f equals 0. All right, this leaves you with x is equal to negative e, and this one leaves you with x is equal to negative f. And those are the solutions to our quadratic formula. All right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and erase this. All right, what we're going to do today is we're going to go through a couple of examples of how to do this. Now, you're going to see a couple different things when you have these type of problems. You're either going to be given a already factored kind of thing, so it's already going to be in that. What am I trying to say? It's already going to be in that factored form, or you might have to factor it first. So let's go through a couple of examples. To start with, let's assume you're given this function. So example 1, you're given r plus 3 times r minus 5 is equal to 0. All right, right here, we're already kind of come down. We're already at the last step. So now all we have to do is solve. So remember, you're looking for all instances where r is going to equal 0 here. So you take each parentheses. All right, so I'm going to take parenthesis 1 and say r plus 3 equals 0. And then you split it down here and say, okay, r minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so by doing that, what you're going to get is you subtract the 3 over, and you get that this leaves you with r is equal to negative 3, and this one leaves you with r is equal to 5. And that's because I added the 5 to each side, and I subtracted the 3 from each side. All right? So that's all there is to it, everyone. You just have to factor it, get it into this form, and set each option equal to 0. Now, what if instead we were given something funky like this? Say we were given 2 here, and say we were given 2x times x minus 4 times x plus 2 equals 0. How many answers do I actually have here? How many possible x value will result in a 0 value? And if you look at this, all right, oh, and let me preface this. This is not a quadratic. This is just a little bit more complicated example that I want to show you all. All right. I would actually have to set this equal to 0, this equal to 0, and this one equal to 0. Right? So that's going to result, if I set the 2x, all right, so 2x equals to 0 implies that x equals 0 will result in one answer. X minus 4 equal to 0 I'm going to take the 4 here. I'm going to add 4 to this side and add 4 to this side. Remember, you have to do what you do to one side to the other, and you get that x is equal to 4 on this side. X plus 2 equals 0 is going to leave you with, you subtract 2 from this side, subtract 2 from this side, you get with x is equal to negative 2. All right? So at this point, what you've got here is you've got 3 answers, all that satisfy this question. Another way of looking at this, everyone, is this is in essence the zeros. This is when the graph of your line drops or crosses the x-axis. So if you guys know the general form of a quadratic equation, all right, so if you guys recall, the general form of a quadratic equation looks something like this, all right, and I'm going to go ahead and do this just generically. So a general form of quadratic looks like this, right? It's some parabola. So what you can do with this said parabola is you can actually, what you're finding this 0 and this 0, the two solutions of your the two solutions that where that graph crosses the 0 line or where that graph equals 0. Okay, in a trinomial, which this is an example of a trinomial, you're just going to have 3 of them. Okay, so you'd have 3 solutions. All right, so let's go through another example. Let's go through another pretty basic example. This will be a quadratic one. All right, let's take, we have the quadratic 3 here. Let's say it's 17n times 2n minus 4 equals 0. All right, so right off the bat, I know I'm going to set each instance to 0. So I'm going to set this equal to 0 and this one. So I set this equal to 0, set this equal to 0. What that results in, right, 17n equals 0. You divide the 17 over here, anything divided by 0 divided by anything is 0. So this leaves you with n is equal to 0. Over here, you've got 2n minus 4 equals 0. So I'm going to go step by step and add the 4 over, plus 4 leaves me with 2n equals 4. Now I'm going to divide by 2, because how do you get rid of multiplication? You divide, and this leaves you with n is equal to 2. Okay, so you will have instances where you might not have just a simple just add it over there and that's equal to it. Like up here, you can look at this and immediately say, just switch the sign of what's in here and say r equals negative 3 and r equals 5 to give that answer, right? You might not even have to do any actual math. But down here, you actually have to solve it. You add the 4 and then you divide by the 2. All right? So we'll go through 2 more examples for this, guys. This is definitely, I think, going to be mostly a review for you all, and hopefully you guys will get this pretty quickly. But let's go through, let's say an example like, all right, n squared, we'll label this one 4, excuse me, n squared plus 3n minus 10 equals 0. Okay, now we see that this isn't in a factored form. So we have to factor it first. So the first thing you're always going to want to do is factor it. Now I've got a negative here, so I know my 2 factors should be x plus something and x minus something, right? I also know that I have a positive here, so I know the bigger number is going to go here. So what 2 numbers multiply to give me negative 10, right? They multiply to give you negative 10, but add to give you positive 3. So let's start with positive 10, because remember the positive is going to be the bigger number, plus negative 1. This leaves you with a 9. Okay, that doesn't work. So let's try 2. All right, plus 5. All right, plus negative 2 gives you a positive 3, and that's what we wanted here. So we know our factors are going to be x plus 5 and x minus 3 equals 0. All right. We take each one, so we say x plus 5 equals 0. That's going to lead you to an answer of, you subtract the 5 over, subtract the 5 over, that goes away, and you're left with x is equal to negative 5. Right here, you have x minus 3 equals 0. I'm going to take the 3, add it to this side, and that leaves me with x is equal to 3. So my two solutions here are x is equal to 3 and negative 5. All right, so in this one, the only difference between this one and the one we've done before was I had to factor it first, okay? Let's go through one more example, everyone. I think after this example, you guys should be well set up. Remember, I will be going over this in person today. All right, but let's try one where maybe we don't have a equal to 1, okay? So 5 here. Let's say we have 3x squared plus 2x minus 5 equals 0. All right, so remember, if we do our little box here, all right, we do our little box, we know that in the upper left corner, I'm going to want to put my 3x squared. Down here we do negative 5 and we cross multiply. That leaves you with negative 15x squared, and you're looking for factors of that. All right, and now here again, we know one is going to be positive, one's going to be negative, and we know that this sign has to be the bigger number. So we're looking for factors of that when they add together, they equal 2x. So let's start with 1, okay? So let's start with positive 15 plus negative 1 equals 14, way off, okay? But now 2 doesn't go into 15, but 3 does, right? 3 times 5. So let's try 5 plus negative 3, and look, that actually equals 2, which is what we're looking for. So we know that this should be 3x squared minus 3x plus 5x minus 5. And remember, the order in which you split this 2 into its two factors that add to get it doesn't matter. You could put the 5x here or the 3x there, it just wouldn't matter. Now, we group and we pull out like terms. So over here I see I can pull out an x and I can pull out a 3. Okay, so let's pull out a 3x, divide each thing inside by 3. Alright, so 3x squared divided by 3x gives you x. 3x over here gives you 1. Over here I see there's both 5s, so we'll take a 5 out. Divide each side, 56, or 5x divided by 5 is x minus 1. So our factors then, I had to make a little room here. Our factors then, everyone, is going to be, this is going to be one factor, and our second factor is going to be the combination of these two. So our two factors will be x minus 1 equals 0, and 3x plus 5 equals 0. We set each one of them equal to 0, so we get 3x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. This one, pretty basic. I take the 1, add it to that side, and that gives me x is equal to 1 is one of my answers. Over here, I'm going to subtract the 5. All right, this leaves me with 3x is equal to negative 5. And the last step here would be divide by 3. Divide by 3. This goes away, and you're left with x is equal to negative 5 thirds. All right, so at the end of the day, all right, there's a bunch of different ways to do these, but at the end of the day, what you're doing is if you're given a quadratic formula, you're going to factor it first, get it into this factored form that looks like this, all right, and then set each individual of these factors equal to 0, okay? We call this finding the zeros, finding the solutions, you name it, okay? Hopefully this was helpful, guys, and once again, congratulations on making it through Summer E-School, all right?